So welcome everybody, good afternoon or good morning or good evening according to the place where you are. This is Mauro speaking, and on behalf of CCIVS, I welcome you to the second meeting of the Training on Volunteering Complete Areas, kindly supported by European Youth Foundation and Erasmus+. We are very happy to start this second episode of this webinar series. And together with me in the supporting and technical room of CCIVS, there is Julia. Thanks, Julia, as usual, for the technical support. And we have also our second trainer, Elisaveta, with me. And we have also Yazin and Zainab, who are joining this meeting here, and they will conduct also the third and the fourth meeting. So we are a very good team, and we should have had also our graphic harvester Yorgos, but unfortunately he's not here right now, but he contributed nevertheless with many nice drawings that you will see today. So we will have also the added value of Yorgos' drawing as promised. And so after this official presentation, I just can leave the microphone first to Zainab and Yazid to say hello, and then also to Elisaveta, and then we can start. So please, Zainab, you can.
Hello, my name is Zainab. I said hello during the very first meeting, and I'm really happy to be a part of this discussion today, and I look forward to engaging with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yazin?
Hi, everyone. My name is Yasin, and I'm joining from CTPSR, Center for Trust, Peace, and Social Relations. I'm glad to be here with you today and hope to work together more in the third and the fourth session.
That's great. Perfect timing. Elisaveta, last but not least.
Okay, hello everyone, and from my side, I'm happy to see you again, and I see that there's more participants than the last time, so I'm really happy to see you all today. And, okay.
Yes, that's all. Okay, so we can start. And of course, Julia, if you want to say hello.
I can also say hi. Hi, my name is Julia, and I'm going to be supporting and helping you, also keeping an eye on Facebook Live, since we will have maybe some comments that we can check. So nice to meet you all, and I hope you enjoy the session.
That's great. And we say also a big hello to all the external viewers on Facebook, because we are broadcasted also there. And now I'll leave the floor to you, Elisaveta, for the first energizer of the day.
Thank you, Mauro. So it's time for Energizer like last time, since for some of us it's time after lunch. So we need to get energized a bit. And I think that you all received the email from Link, which says to bring some hat or something that can be like improvisation of the hat. So I will use something like this. It's really strange, but it will use for this purpose. So I'll ask you to grab something like really quickly, something that you can use as a hat, and to grab another object that you have nearby. It can be anything. It can be pen, or here I can have my alcohol, or you can use pen, you can use your mouse, you can use whatever you want. And it would be cool if you can turn on your cameras, because it would be really nice if we can see each other for this activity. But if not, it's also fine. Oh, I'm really happy to see that everyone has some hat. Okay, this is short energizer. It can be fun, and you will see what is the purpose beside energizing. So instructions are like this. So you have hat and you have object. And I will be asking you randomly questions one by one. For example, Paul, what did you eat for breakfast? And you're supposed to answer my questions, but at the same time, I will like remove my hat or put up the object I have in my hand. So I'll do this while I'm asking you questions in the random things. So you have to answer my questions, but also to follow my movements. Okay, so can we try it? Okay, let's go. So Martina, what did you eat for breakfast?
Cereals and milk.
Okay, cheese and milk. And Simone, are you a cat person or a dog person? Simone?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a dog person.
Okay, and Natalia, what is your favorite band? Natalia is not here. Okay, Milena, what is your favorite band? Milena, she left or no? Milena, we cannot hear you. Okay, maybe she's not here. So Vincent, what is your favorite band? Music band?
Christy Moore. Oh.
Christy Moore. Okay. And Jonathan, what was the last country you visited?
Greece, technically.
Greece. Okay. Ana Martinez, what's your favorite part of the year?
Summer.
Summer. Okay. Alexandra, what's your favorite country?
Brazil.
Brazil. Okay, but you're not following the movements.
I'm sorry.
Okay, maybe we can stop here. There's like more participants that I did not engage, but I think it's maybe enough for this first round of Energizer, and I hope that you get energized a bit and it was fun. Sometimes it's really challenging to find the proper Energizer for the online activities, but this was one of my favorites, so I wanted to share it with you. But it is also nice to show how it's not easy to multitask. So when you have to answer the questions but also follow the movements, it can be a bit challenging. And this is something also that happens in the online trainings for Mauro and me. It's really not easy to manage to talk at the same time, to keep you engaged, but also to share our screens and to share the materials we prepared. So this is also one appeal for you, just not to be hard on us with this. So if there's if we're at some point slow or if there are technical issues, just remember that we're multitasking as you like a few moments ago, and please don't be hard on us. Okay, thank you for joining the Energizer.
Thank you very much for this nice game, Elisabetta. And now we can proceed with displaying the program for today. And I will share the screen. So you will start appreciating the artwork of our graphic harvester, Yorgos. So this is the program of today, what we are going to do today. Okay, we started number 1 with official welcome. Number 2 was the Energizers. Energizers done by Elisabetta. Haha moments and the program. Actually, okay, we are starting with the program. It was a mistake, just to confirm what Elisabetta just said. After the presentation of the program, we will present also quickly the haha moments, how it works. Then we will have a short session to clarify the key concepts on volunteering in conflict areas, the concept of conflict areas, and this concept will be explained more in details in the next meeting. Then we will have a short poll regarding work camps and your experience in work camps in conflict areas, to understand also our backgrounds on this topic. Then we will have a nice visualization and narrative which will give us more information about the history of the IVS movement, so International Volunteer Service Movement, and the first work camps. This is important because the very first work camp, which was organized more than 1 century ago, can you believe it? So It's a very old movement. So the very first WordCamp was actually a WordCamp in conflict areas. So it will be very important to go back to the roots of the movement. Then we will have an interactive session, which is called Ranking Peace, and where you will receive a description of WordCamps, and you will have to rank these WordCamps according to their impact to the promotion of peace. It's a very interesting session. Then after a short break, we will continue with two sessions. There will be the two last session of the meeting. The first one is a session which will clarify what is the IVS approach, and specifically IVS approach to volunteering in conflict areas. And there will be the possibility also to reflect about the strengths and the weaknesses of this approach. And then there will be one last interactive sessions where you will have the possibility to share experiences and perspective regarding the motivation and expectations of volunteering in conflict areas. And then there will be the preview of next meeting. So this is the program of today. I will stop now sharing. It is important to stress, to highlight that today it will be a meeting. As you can see, we plan activities where you will have the possibility also to talk and to share and to get to know more one another. And the task of today's meeting is to clarify the IVS approach on volunteering in conflict areas, and also to reflect about the advantages, also limits and disadvantages of our approach. We don't want to say that our approach is the best, of course not, but it's very important that we reflect about this approach in order to use it at best when we want to volunteer. And this will be also a kind of introductory section for the next meetings, where we are going to address the conflict and also the other topics on conflict areas and volunteering in conflict areas with Yasin and Zainab in a more detailed way. So we are going from the general to the more specific. And today, this is the test. So we are going to clarify concept. We're going to also illustrate the IVS approach to volunteering. Having said that, I will go back now to point number 3, which was supposed to be presented before the presentation. And this is a reminder about a tool that we created for you, which I'm going to share with you now. Just a second. Here it is. So we prepared a kind of a journal, and I will share this with you. Here it is. So probably you heard already this expression of aha moments. It's not like haha like laughing. It's aha moments. So aha moments. What is it? Here actually we describe it in the instruction. These aha moments are moments of sudden realization or inspiration, insight, or understanding. It's the typical moment when you realize that you finally understood something, and it can be something that happened out of the blue or something that happened gradually. It depends also on your learning and understanding style. So we prepared this journal, and this is a very nice drawing by Yorgos, by the way. And if you scroll down, we created also some boxes. So the idea is that this kind of journal can help you, because you can jot down here and keep track of your aha moments. Of course, you can enlarge the windows as you wish, according to the inputs that you want to note down. And we ask you just to keep track of your aha moments for each meeting. And you can use it as a journal. And so at the end of each meeting, we will ask you also if you had your aha moments, and you can share them with us. If you don't have them at the end of the meeting, no problem. You can think about it, and you can keep track of them also in the next days. So this is something personal that you can do individually. You will find it also in the island section of CCIVS or VICA training. And if you want, you can upload your aha moments, and you can share them with the whole group. So just to recap, this is an individual work that we ask. At the end of each meeting, we will ask also if somebody wants to share the aha moments. It's not obligatory, it's not compulsory, but it's something that we would appreciate. And it's just for you to keep also track of your learning process. Julia can also share it in the chat, but as said, you will find it also in the LN section. So you can download it now from the chat, and you can start in keeping track of your aha moments there. It's already on ILAB. Okay, so this was the reminder about aha moments, and we will use this system also in the next meeting, so meeting number 3 and 4. And now we can go, as we said during the program, while explaining the program, the next session is a short session to clarify some key concepts. And also for this session, I will share my screen with you. We prepared a short PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to share it with you. Here it is. Okay, now I will enlarge it. Okay, so this short presentation task is to clarify what is a conflict area, so we can share some key concepts. So conflict areas are contexts where intrapersonal, interpersonal, intergroup, organizational, and international conflicts occur when incompatible goals develop between person, groups, or nation. Competition for resources or other interests, value differences, or dissatisfaction with basic needs are the main reason behind conflicts. So we highlighted them with different colors. So competition, differences, values, dissatisfaction with basic needs. These are, or this might be the reason behind conflict. And also incompatible economic and political interests developed an attempt to suppress other groups, often with threats and actual use of force. So what is a conflict area? According to what we just said, according to our previous definitions, a conflict area does not necessarily have to be a place torn by violence, war, destruction, or explicit military conflicts. According to what we said, it can be any place affected by any kind of conflict, okay? So this is important in order to clarify the things that we are going to discuss today, also in the next meeting. Just to repeat, a conflict area does not necessarily have to do with the violence, war, destruction, or military conflicts, okay? Can you make examples? Yes. For example, USA right now can be a conflict area due to racial conflicts and discrimination, which are in the news almost daily now. Spain, due to ethnic conflict and independence of Catalonia, can be also considered a conflict area, as well as Greece and Italy due to migration-related conflicts. Further, small and secluded communities, for example, a small village, could also be an area of conflict due to issues related to gender inequality, discrimination, homophobia, violence against women. Of course, these issues can be found also in big cities. In line with this, also families, for example, are one of the most prevalent conflict areas around the world. When we talk about conflict areas, we can also analyze the element of national level conflicts, so domestic or intrastate. In this case, there are some examples. For example, Iraq, conflict over oil resources, ethnic and sectarian division, political dominance. Turkey, a conflict related to ethnic and sectarian polarization and political dominance. Rwanda, conflict over land and export income. Mexico, conflicts between cartel groups and the state forces. In this case, we are talking about national, so intrastate and domestic conflict. But we can have also another element of conflict, which is the international element. So here are some examples of this kind of conflicts. In this case, these include conflicts over objective national interest on the part of political decision makers or two or more countries. In this case, this can be an example, Iran versus USA, and the conflict can be about nuclear weapons and national interest in the Middle East, particularly in Iraq and Syria. Armenia versus Azerbaijan, conflict over territorial land like Karabakh. Turkey versus Greece, conflict over Cyprus status and interest in the Mediterranean region. And we can have also kind of diplomatic conflict that Britain versus the European Union in the case of Brexit with economic and border custom policy. So these are just examples of international conflicts. And this is the end of this presentation. As you can see, it's very short, but it helps us clarify the concept that we're going to discuss today. We will provide you more definitions and more details about this. We will have a specific focus on the next meeting, especially in meetings number 3 and 4. So for now, this is just enough. As said, today focus will be more on the IVS approach. And this definition was important to clarify, the border of our discussion. And very importantly is the concept of conflict area. We just saw together that when we talk about conflict area, we are not just talking about war or military conflict. It can be something which can affect different elements and different dimensions. Having said that, now we can proceed with some more interactive session, and I will leave the floor to Elizabeth to start the poll, which will include you, so you can start sharing some of your experiences.
Okay, thank you, Mauro, for clarifying these key concepts for us. So now we'll just do a small, let's say, survey on, again, your experiences with volunteering on the work camps and volunteering in conflict areas in general. And for this purpose, I will share in the chat for you the website. It's www.menti.com that you should visit. You can do it from your PC, from your computer, or from your phone. And there will be this code. Once you reach the website, it will ask you to insert this code. It's 98172709, and then you'll be able to answer the questions. So now I'll share my screen. Okay. So yes, I see that some of you already answered. So once you reach the website, you'll be able to answer the question, have you ever participated in a work camp? So I'll just wait a few moments for people to answer, and you can see we have 2 yes, 2 no, 3 yes, still 2 no. Okay. Now more people. No, okay, now it's equal. Yes, yes. 5 yes, 4 no. Okay, I'll wait a few more moments for people to enter the website and to share their experiences. Okay, 6, 7 people out of 20, a bit out of 18 participated in a work camp. 4 people no. 5 people, okay. Let's wait for another minute to see. If someone has a problem with the, okay. Okay, I think that now most of the people answered this question. So we see that it's almost equal. So it's 53% of participants today joined work camp, so participated in a work camp, and 47% of people didn't participate in a work camp. Okay, and we have another question. So did you ever take part in a work camp in the conflict areas? Okay, 4 people, yes. 8 people, no. 10 people, no. 11. Okay. 6, yes. 12, no. Okay, maybe at this point I can invite some of you who answer yes and who feel like sharing their experience. If you can just briefly in a few sentences share where you did your work camp and if it was in the conflict areas. So just briefly, I know that we talked about this last time, but since we have some new participants, plus we're broadcasting live on the Facebook, it would be nice just to share again your experiences with us. Is there someone who would like to say a few words about volunteering in the conflict areas?
Well, yes, if I can say my experience briefly.
Okay.
I was volunteering in Palestine.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I did a work camp there, and I observed like the 2 sides, let's say, if you can say 2 sides, because it's a big occupation. So yeah, I see all the differences that are not broadcasted in the media, and a lot of, well, things that that doesn't arrive here. So yeah, it was really like revelating a new reality for me, because the fact that even right now this year Palestine is not even in Google Maps or in the map and they are changing all the names of all the cities. It was, well, just crazy, because a lot of things that I could explain here when I came back, the people was not believing. They were like, no, come on, this is like a movie, you know. But the worst thing was that it was real. So, yeah.
And when it was?
In 2018.
In 2018. Okay, thank you, Anna. Thank you for sharing this with us. It's really, I would say, a valuable experience, especially for this topic that we're dealing with. So maybe someone else wants to share, like there was 6 people said that they joined some work camp in the conflict areas. Okay, if no, I will understand. Maybe if you don't like, you don't feel like talking live, it's okay. I'm sure that there will be opportunities to share your experiences in smaller groups when we will do some group activities. And also I would like to ask if there's someone, you can also raise hand using the Zoom option, or you can just unmute and tell a few words about your experience if you ever joined some program beside the work camp in the conflict areas. So if you participated in any kind of like peace project or any kind of project beside the work camp and it was in the conflict areas, maybe you can share with us. Okay, someone, okay, there 1 clap and 1 thumbs up. Maybe you can, I cannot see who are the people that, okay, so Simone, maybe you want to share something with us if you feel comfortable.
Sure. Sorry, I choose the wrong emoticon.
Okay, it's fine.
Anyhow, yeah, I was kind of on the other side compared to Anna while I was in Israel, in the north, in the Galilee, and it was interesting because I was on the other side, but we're working with Arab Israeli and Jewish Israeli, trying to organize activities for children and teenagers, and yeah, I can partly, or anyhow, at least partly confirm what Anna was mentioning, the fact that for Arab people living in Israel, a lack of opportunities is definitely there, and you could notice as soon as you were proposing whatever kind of activities for children, there were coming super many, while on the other side there was less interest. So there is definitely one of the two sides, and in this case is definitely the Arab minority that has left less opportunities, less chances to have a regular life compared to the Jewish side. Yeah, I was there for a year and 4 months in north of Israel for this program called Center of Learning and Dialogue. So yeah.
And when it was, how many years ago?
2014 until middle of 2015.
Okay, Simone, thank you also for sharing this. So we see how in, let's say, one conflict that lasts for many years, we have a different, not only two, but even more sides in the conflict that are engaged. Okay, and maybe if someone else wants to share something, now I cannot see who was the other person that clapped or put a thumbs up or something, but I'll leave the floor to someone if you want to share experience with volunteering in conflict areas or engaging in programs in the conflict areas. Okay, if not, then I would conclude this. Like we saw that like most of the people, so the percentage was that 53 people joined some kind of work camp and 47 no, and we saw that most of the people never engaged never engaged in a work camp in the conflict areas. And to be honest, it's kind of rare to have, we don't have a lot of work camps in the conflict areas. Usually we don't go under the bombs and in the conflict areas, but it can happen sometimes to have projects in these kind of areas too. And so I can see that Julia wrote on chat that one of the Facebook viewers did work camp in Syrian refugee camp in Lebanon. So I guess it would be really nice to share this with us as well, but unfortunately we don't have this opportunity to give floor to our viewers on a Facebook, but maybe Lilian can leave a comment under this video that is being broadcasted. So later on we can gather comments, and also you can go back to the video and maybe check the experiences of other people that may shared on in the comments on the Facebook. So thank you everyone for joining this, to participating in this poll and for sharing your experiences. As I previously said, you'll have more time to discuss about these topics in a smaller groups where you will maybe feel more free to share your experiences. Okay, so now I'll give floor back to Mauro.
Yes, thanks, Elizabeth. And then I will very shortly give the floor back to you, actually. We are going to do something actually together, me and Elizabeth now. But I will introduce you briefly. Here we can say, also reading the things that you share in your registration form. Some of you have already familiarity with the IVS movement. Also with the network of the IVS, so someone with Alliance, someone with SCI, someone also with other networks. So we assume that you might know already the origin and the history of our movement, which is relevant to the topics we are discussing, because as we said before, our first work camp of the movement was organized exactly in a conflict area. There are also newcomers, so to say, young people who doesn't know the history of the movement. So it would be a nice chance, nice opportunity now to share this information with you in such a way that you also understand how our approach to volunteering in conflict areas developed throughout the decades. And it's important to understand history in order to understand also why we are here and which direction we are going to go in the future. In order to do this, we prepared a short story, a short narrative, which will be read by Elisabetta. And in the meantime, I will show some nice drawings done by Yorgos. And so you will have also the possibility to follow the story and the narrative watching this nice visualization. So now I will share the screen and then Elisabetta can start the narration. Just a second now. Okay, so please, Elisabetta, you can start.
Okay, thank you, Mauro. So international volunteer work camps, as we know them today, from the very beginning were conceived as a peace project. The first international voluntary work camp took place in Esnes and Argonne near the former battlefield of Verdun in France in 1920. The project was initiated by Pierre Ceresol, Swiss engineer, initiator of international voluntary service. Aim of the project was to reconstruct the war-damaged village, but also to be a symbol of reconciliation between France and Germany. On the wings of the motto, deeds, not words, the first work camp was organized and a milestone for further voluntary projects was set. Volunteers were from France, Switzerland, England, and Germany. The team built temporary homes from the people in the village and cleared the farmland. The first work camp did not go as smooth as intended. Local people were not satisfied to have Germans in their village, and after some months they had to leave the project. However, Pierre did not quit on the project, and soon there was another work camp organized in Switzerland. He neither gave up on the idea that people working together on a task in public interest, living in and eating together, sharing experiences and opinions, can understand each other and learn from each other in a unique way. These two projects are considered as the forerunners of the modern work camps. Ceresol was honored for his contribution to building peace and promoting voluntary work, and he even had the opportunity to meet Mahatma Gandhi in 1931 and to share ideas and experiences with him. In the coming years, the idea of work camps expanded, and after World War II, work camps organized in several countries, but without formal structure. Strengthening of the international voluntary service, an increasing number of work camps and voluntary organizations initiated discussion in UNESCO on the way to coordinate these projects and to encourage the efforts of volunteering. In 1948, the Coordinating Committee for International Voluntary Service, CCIVS, was created to coordinate these new international voluntary service organizations. International voluntary service became a vehicle for non-formal and informal education and started to act as a catalyst for change within individuals and communities, giving people the chance to participate in a meaningful, productive, and socially useful work as active members of society. It promoted and still promotes the participation of all regardless of gender, skin color, religion, nationality, age, ability, sexual orientation, social status, or political views, and any other possible grounds for discrimination, in a spirit of true equality and the recognition of the right of others to dignity and respect. Today, 100 years since the first work camp was held, more than 2,000 work camps are organized around the world each year, with dozens of thousands of volunteers from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds participating. Work camps are organized in different areas, working with children, people with disabilities, art, ecology, festival work camps, reconstruction, manual, social work camps. International exchange of volunteers today is organized through global and regional networks of volunteer organizations. Among them, Coordinating Committee of International Voluntary Services, CCIVS, the Alliance of European Voluntary Service Organizations, Alliance, Civil Service Civil International, SCI, Network for Voluntary Development in Asia, NVDA, and Southeast European Youth Network, SEEYN. IVS will continue to respond to the prevalent issues of society on a local and global level, to pursue peace and promote nonviolence through international understanding, mutual respect, friendship, exchange, and cooperation among the people of the world.
Okay, so thank you, Elisabetta, for this overview. We hope it was clear. So the message was that actually the IVS movement is quite old. So we started 101 year ago, and the movement, of course, went through different development phases, different crises. The last one is the crisis that is affecting us as individuals and as organizations. Actually, last year we should have celebrated the first century of life, and it happened just in the middle of the pandemic. So all our celebrations, all our events and initiatives, actually we didn't have the possibility to implement them as we wished. But nevertheless, we are used to crisis. So one important element of the movement is resilience and cooperation. It was important also to stress that we started as a peace organization, but then, of course, with the development of the tools, programs, and development of the networks and organization, now we do not only organize WordCamps like the first WordCamp that was organized near Verdun. As Elisabetta said, there are many different topics that we address through our initiatives, so short-term volunteering like WordCamps, and also long-term volunteering, also training in the last 20 or 30 years supported by the European institutions. So now the movement is huge, and it encompasses almost 200 organizations, and each organization has a specific identity. Also the network has specific identities, but still the topic of peace and the topic of intervening in conflict areas is still relevant. So we talked about WordCamps, we talked about our format of interventions, and now we would like to propose an interactive activity. So it's time for you now to start talking in groups. It is a group activity, and it is specific. It's specific on WordCamps. This is also a way to reflect about the impact of our action, of our voluntary action, and also to understand what we can achieve through this format, through these initiatives. Now I will show the screen with you in order to show you the instructions. Here it is. So also here we have to thank Yorgos for the visual contribution. We will share with you a file with 5 descriptions of WordCamps. So I will not read them all because they're quite long and I don't want to take time for your group work. These 5 WordCamps are quite diverse. So for example, we have a WordCamp in Denmark, in South Denmark, where volunteers are involved in the implementation of a festival. Then we have a WordCamp in the mountains in Austria, which is related to the event of World War I, and it's an historical WordCamp. Then we have a WordCamp in Palestine. Then we have a WordCamp in Wales, where volunteers are involved in creating contribution to promote peace. And then we have a WordCamp in another specific areas, which is Ukraine, and which is related also to the conflict, recent conflict in Ukraine. So you will receive now this file with the description of these WordCamps. So I ask Julia kindly to share the PDF in your chat, and you can download it. And now the next step is this: you will be divided into groups. I would stop now. You will be divided into groups, and together you have to read and to discuss about the impact on this camp in promoting peace. So the impact of this camp in the topic of peace building. And you will have to rank them. So you will have 5 WordCamps. You have to put them in the order according to the one who which is going to provide the most significant impact on peace according to you, and to rank them from the most significant to the least significant, and you will have a table which I will share with you now. So in order to facilitate this task, you can use this table. You will receive this in your group, and you can provide points. You can provide a score to each camp. The method we suggest is that for each column, you can appoint a score from 1, which is poor, to 5, which is excellent. So, for example, is promotion of peace mentioned in the tasks of the description? You can give either 1 or 2, 3, 4, or 5 according to the score that you want to give. And if you do this scoring system, at the end you will have a final score, and this final score will help you ranking the WordCamp. So the WordCamp which will get more points will be the WordCamp with the stronger impact on peace building. Of course, you have to discuss. Maybe you will have different opinions about this. So feel free first to read the description and then to discuss with your groups. You can also use different methods. You can also rank them just to, after discussing with dialogues, as you wish. This is just a method that we suggest in order to facilitate your task. The task at the end is to decide which is the WordCamp which is more impactful in terms of promotion of peace, and to rank them from the first to the least. And then there is the possibility also to share this table in plenary, and we will see the potential differences. Is it clear, the task? Okay, so we invite you to download the file with the camp description, and now Elisabetta can create the group. I think maybe we don't have enough people to create 5 groups. What do you think, Elisabetta? How many groups are you creating?
I already created 5 rooms, but okay. I think it's enough to have 4 rooms. So I'll just move the people in the other room. Just a second. Let me check if it's okay. And I'll put you in the rooms in 10 seconds.
Okay, then in each group, we will enter each group, and we will give you the link to the table so you can work using a shared file.
Okay, so I'm opening the rooms now, so see you in 15 minutes.
You will have 15 minutes to accomplish this task.
And you have invitation to join the room, so you should accept it.
Wow.
But I do know that WordCamp. I do know that WordCamp in Palestine. I know it actually involves those other things as well. So maybe I'm prejudiced in favor of it, but that would be wrong. I'd be happy. You know, I'm not going to argue, really. If you feel that the Harkov one you would put at the top, but I just don't know. I say I do know the West Bank one, and they do. You do get a good variety, and with civil organizations and communities as well. It's well embedded.
We're glad that this discussion were lively. No, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if you realize, but you're in plenary now.
Okay.
Anyway, it's very interesting to see how the discussion were developing. Okay, so is everybody here? It seems so.
Yes, everyone's here. The room are closed, so we're all back to plenary.
Everybody's here. So how was this session? Was it hard? Maybe we didn't give you much time to read the descriptions. but unfortunately, these are the drawbacks of online meeting. This was offline residential session. We would have appointed much more time, even a whole afternoon to discuss about it. But unfortunately, we don't have these resources, so we needed to push a little bit. Nevertheless, we hope that it was interesting and entertaining in the discussion, and also useful, also to better understand the impact of WordCamps. I would like now to know more about the result of each group, and I would invite maybe a person from each group to share the result. I can, if you want, I can share the screen of your table, or you can just give us some details about your final result. So talking about group number 1, who would like to speak and to share your conclusions? We need a representative of group number 1.
Well, we didn't decide it, but I don't know if Simon or Claudia or the rest want to.
Go ahead, Anna, no problem.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
So I should share my screen, or?
I can do it for you, but if you have it, you can. I think yet that you have.
Now I see myself.
Okay, then I will share the screen. And I will try to, let's see. Yes, this was your result, group number 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me the instruction and I will scroll up and down according to where you want to say.
Yeah, okay, we start with CAM A, that was the CAM in Denmark. And we agreed that was not a conflict area, because it was the organization of a festival. Also, we said that the task, it was not related with peace building, even if they were promoting, peace and love and celebration of music and organizational stuff. We said, can you go up a bit? Because I don't see the question here. We said also that there were not peace topics related in the study part, so we said no. We didn't know if we have to explain more why, or we have to say only yes or no, but we did it that way, yes or no, and then we put numbers in the score. I don't know if
this was
correctly.
a good method, yes.
Okay. Then we agreed that does the WordCamp contribute to raise awareness on the root of conflict, racism, discrimination, economic and social exploitation? Not really, but they were promoting other things like sustainability, recycle, renewable energies, and it was an extra point, let's say, a positive thing to take into account. So we agreed that the score, it will be 2, because the main topic was peace building, right? So then in the CAM B, we said also mainly the same answers, because it was in Dolomites in Austria, and it was related more in historical, like remembering the story of Dolomites and preserve in a kind of museum. Like it was not related with peace building, and it was not in a conflict area. So we agreed it was the final score 2 as well. Then the C was in the West Bank in Bethlehem, and we said it's a conflict area that is related with a peace building topic direct, because they were working on education, raising awareness, and raising political awareness as well, working with kids and knowing more the situation there. And we agreed there is a final score of 4. And the CAM D, we said it's not in a in a conflict area, because the CAM, it was, can you remember me, the CAM D?
Yes, it was
in Wales.
Please. In Wales.
In Wales, yeah. And yeah, we were discussing with Simon that it was more in a theoretical way, like in a theoretical knowledge, because there's like promoting that people from other conflict areas meet and they discuss about peace building and strategies to work in their own countries. Or this is what we understood. And then the final score we said it's 4. And we didn't put the final score of the last one, but it was the conflict in Ukraine. And we said all the questions previous yes, and the extra point solidarity.
Okay, so at the end, which is the camp which scores most? Which is the WordCamp that you would say it is the WordCamp with the strongest impact on peace building? Because here I can see actually there are 2 2s and 2 4s and 1 blank.
Yeah, we didn't finish the E in Ukraine. We have another person that in the chat says that the Ukraine is not a conflict area. So sorry for that mistake. I'm not from Ukraine directly, so then we should say the first question no. And we will not have a final score for the last one because we didn't have time to agree. But the 2 most relevant will be D and C, that are the Coming West Bank, and D, that is Wales. But not Wales exactly, because Wales is not a conflict area as well.
Okay. Yeah, the task was to decide the impact. So also a WordCamp which doesn't take place in a conflict area can have an impact regarding the promotion of peace. So it depends also on your thinking, on your way of thinking, or the reasons that you find. Okay, so it's good that it seems that it was a very lively group, and you identified C and D. Okay, I will stop now. So thank you, Anna, for sharing these. We can go to group number 2. Is there any representative of group number 2 who would like to present? So, members of group number 2, please don't be shy. You can present also more quickly, just 1 minute if you wish, but we need somebody.
Come on, someone from room number 2. We had Alexandra, Cecile, Jonathan, and Yevgenia. I don't know if I pronounced it well. Come on, don't be shy. Just briefly to introduce what's your conclusions.
Also, if you don't have any conclusion, you can present them. I mean, also no conclusion is conclusion for us, so don't worry. You can also share maybe challenges or disagreements that you had in your group. Don't worry. Okay, it seems that it is difficult to find a speaker for this group, but it's not a problem. We can skip to group number 3. So group number 3, do we have here any representative ready to share the results?
I can talk if you agree, group. I will do it very fast. You don't think to share this. You don't need to share the screen neither. I can say that even if we don't finish the last one, we kind of agreed that it was with more points, more or less, kind of the first one in the first position, that it connects with tackling peace in the sense that it talks with it works with displaced people. There were children and also old people in the context, from the local context, and they were working in the effects of conflict for the displaced people. So it was talking about a conflict directly, even though it's not in a conflict area. And maybe the one that it had less points was the first one in Denmark, because it wasn't talking directly about peace. It was more like a festival, but even though they had some time to to get to know each other in short.
Okay, thank you for sharing this. Actually, I have a comment regarding the first workshop, but I will say this at the end. It's just input for you to reflect about it, which is interesting. And I would now give the floor to a representative of the last group number 4, for sharing the conclusions. So who would like to speak on behalf of group number 4?
I don't mind speaking.
Yes, please.
So, if we, would you mind putting up the graph that we did?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I will share the screen. Second. Okay, I'm almost done. Here it is. Okay, this is group number 4, please.
So similar to what the groups have said before, the first one to us scored the lowest points because it wasn't dealing with it wasn't in a conflict area, and it wasn't particularly to do with peace, although it is very nice to have fun. And then we were stuck between both B and D both scored the same points again for us, because although the Wales one was educational, and that's really important, and it was bringing people from around the world together to learn about peace. However, it wasn't kind of doing the peace building in practice, whereas B was in a post-conflict area, so it might have been dealing with like traumatic experiences through generations. But that wasn't to do with peace today. So we're kind of we had a lot of discussions about those two. And then similarly to C and E, to the Palestinian and Ukraine, both of those scored the same points for us. In terms of the Palestinian one was obviously it's very rife conflict, but the Ukraine ones felt like maybe more was being done to support the people on the ground that are experiencing things at the moment. So those different things there.
Okay, thank you very much for this, for sharing this.
Mauro?
Yes, please.
Paulie, can I make a challenge, please? Because I think, and our group was perhaps the same, that we were not listening so closely to your definitions. And when you talked about conflict and conflict area, you made clear then that for IVS, it's not about shooting with guns. But I think, and especially our Facebook intervention concerning Ukraine, I know Kharkov myself, and I know that there is plenty of conflict there. It may not be shooting with guns, but there's a lot of, if you like, discussion and some hostility between groups. And for my knowledge, you can find conflict in, I don't know about Denmark, South Denmark, but certainly there is still historical reasons to call Dolomite area between Italy and Austria as a conflict area. Certainly, we all know Palestine, even Wales, conflict between Welsh culture and English culture there, and you could call that a conflict zone, as indeed, as I said, Kharkov also. So I think on your definition, the IVS definition, at least 4 of those are conflict zones.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this, Paul. Actually, we will see after the break, we will have also the possibility to understand more closely about the IVS approach. One thing that I wanted to say is just a personal example, a personal experience I would like to share with you. Because 10 years ago, I was coordinator of youth exchange. It was a kind of a work. And we brought children, Italian children, kids, in a project in Belgium, in the French part of Belgium. It was similar to the description of the project in Denmark, you see. So apparently there was no conflict area involved. There was also no topics regarding peace involved. Nevertheless, in the group, it was a youth exchange from kids from different parts of Europe. And we had a group from Kosovo and we had a group from Serbia. And they were kids. I mean, the age was 14, 15. And when we did the final evaluation, the kids from Kosovo, they said we were educated by our parents to hate, not to hate, but to not to put trust into Serbian people. And during this training, we realized that now we have friends from Serbia because they get along perfectly with the Serbian teenagers. So we were basically in a peaceful area, which was an area in the countryside of Belgium. We didn't mention peace or peace topics during our meeting. It was something about healthy lifestyle and healthy eating. So participants were involved in tasks like cooking together. And nevertheless, we had this profile among the participants and we contributed to peace. So basically we deconstructed also the educational scheme and we addressed some challenges. And even if this was not the main task of our project, the circumstances led us to work toward peace, even if this was not our main purposes. So just the bottom line is that in our IVS projects, sometimes we have also unexpected good results. It might happen that then we implement project in conflict areas, but the activities are not relevant sometimes. So sometimes participants do not have contact with the local communities, even if they are in a conflict areas. So in this case, to be in the conflict area sometimes doesn't ensure that you are achieving tasks and you're achieving your target of promoting peace. So it depends on many factors. And these exercises was not meant actually to provide clear definition, but to create also gray zones in your brain and your mind. If the discussion in your group was controversial, that was good, because actually there are many elements to take into consideration. And this was one of the tasks of this exercise. So we saw that sometimes the score that you find in your group were not definitive. Maybe you needed to have more time to discuss. But we will see also when we do the next activities that there are many gray zones when we talk about conflict areas and volunteering in conflict areas. And we should be aware of this. It's not a problem. So one of the tasks of this exercise was also to raise awareness and to increase your critical thinking about this. Having said that, I think that we need a break now. So it's 3:34. We can meet again at 3:40. So 3:40. I will write also in the chat, and we will do 2 more activities before the end of this meeting. So we will meet again. I will write here to everybody. 3:40. Of course, Paris, Rome time. Welcome back. Okay, as said, there are still 2 activities to go, and then it will be the end of this meeting. Okay, we can start with the first of the 2 activities, and I will share the screen. And this activity, it relates with what we did in our last one, because we will talk about the IVS approach to volunteering, and specifically to volunteering in conflict areas, in order to understand what are the specificities of this approach and what are the differences also regarding to other approaches. An important introduction before starting is that through this presentation, we don't want to say that IVS approach is the best or is the one who works better. We just want to say that it is our approach, and we developed it through many, many years. And it is important to understand the strength and the weaknesses. So we do this presentation now, it's a short presentation, and then we invite you to share your comments regarding the plus and minus of this approach, because it is important to understand our strength, but also to be aware of our limits. And then in meeting number 3 and 4, we will explore also other approaches in order to better understand the differences and also the strengths of our approaches, and to better understand also our profile. So we can start with this short presentation, the IVS approach to volunteering. So also here we thank Yorgos for this brilliant piece of art, which facilitate our understanding. We start with some dichotomies here. When we talk about volunteering, we can talk about a grassroots approach or top-down approach. Probably you heard many times these concepts. Here are some more details. So what is the IVS approach? Is it top-down or a grassroots approach? Top-down means involves a kind of hierarchic approach. It requires some specific expertise and procedures. Sorry, I have some problem here. Okay, again, I will start sharing again. Okay, we were here. Can you confirm that you see the slide?
Yes, we see.
Sorry for this glitch. Okay, so on the left is an example of a top-down approach. And on the right here, the grassroots approach. And when we talk about grassroots, we are talking about an horizontal approach where volunteers work side by side with the local community. And the decision-making process and also the problem-solving process is participatory. So there is nobody giving orders, but it's something done horizontally together, let's say. And we can say that IVS approach is grassroots approach. So another dichotomy could be formal and non-formal, as you can see here in Yorgos' visualization, okay? Here, formal, you can see teacher, but it can be also something that you can find in business, in corporation, in the military, also in some religious group. And non-formal, the typical symbol, the typical element of non-formal education, in this case here is the circle, which is something that we organize often when we do residential training. So what are more details regarding these approaches? Formal, it involves highly structured elements. Can be also uniforms, for example, in the military, formal training, performance-based evaluation, focus on efficiency and efficacy. Well, non-formal is much more interactive, and it involves also non-formal evaluation, non-formal education tools and instruments like energizers and games, workshops like the one which we are proposing also through these webinars. And when we're talking about IVS, yes, also in this case, the non-formal approach is the typical approach of IVS. Then another dichotomy is restrictive versus inclusive. Here on the left, you can see a drawings that illustrates an example of restrictive approach, where there are many criteria, and these criteria can lead to exclusion. Whereas on the right, you can see an example of inclusive. Also here, there is the circle as a symbol element of inclusion and social inclusion. You can see a representative of different groups. And regarding more details, regarding restriction, some approach to volunteer can requires only specific competencies, previous experiences and qualities, whereas in the IVS approach, usually all volunteers are included. We put a mark here because when a volunteer registers to a WordCamp, usually she or he must be at least 18 years old or 16 years old, according to some rules. Nevertheless, even children are accepted in WordCamps if they are accompanied by parents. Usually no specific requirements are requested besides strong motivation. Sometimes some WordCamps require a motivation letter and previous experience, but only when requested. Usually we don't have strong restrictions for participation, and this is another element of the IVS approach. Then another interesting dichotomy is result-oriented versus process-oriented. So result-oriented in this case means that the main element and the main factor in participating to an initiative and a project is the final result, and this can also lead to competition among the members of the group. Whereas in the other side, we have the process-oriented. In the process-oriented approach, the final result is not that important. Of course, it is good if we achieve what we wanted to accomplish. But at the same time, what is important is also the process and the relationship. So good relationship and respect among the members of the group. This is sometimes more important than achieving the final result. If we want to provide more details here, when we talk about result-oriented, and we give an example here, for example, in case of emergency contexts or natural catastrophes, it might happen that an intervention should be result-oriented. Okay, so we don't want to say that result-oriented is bad, but in our kind of projects like WordCamps, for example, the final result, to achieve the final result, sometimes it is not the most important thing. Because the final result, for example, in a WordCamp can be also achieved through other WordCamps in the future. So volunteers do not have necessarily to achieve a final result, but the learning process is more important. In this sense, in the learning process, we include also tasks like promoting critical thinking and raising awareness about specific topics. So also here, we say that the IVS approach includes a process-oriented approach. Then another dichotomy here is similar to what we mentioned. It's emergency relief versus post-intervention. So what we don't usually do in IVS is provide special teams that intervenes in emergency area. We don't have the capacity to do this simply. We don't go right after or during a flood, a disaster, war, an earthquake. But nevertheless, we can intervene in this context, but sometimes after. For example, an example of WordCamp in a post-intervention area can be a group of volunteers that organize a WordCamp in an area affected by an earthquake. So let's say a couple of months or 3 months after an earthquake, in order to provide some workshop to the local children who still were live in tents or in provisional accommodation. This is something that really happened in Italy some years ago when central Italy was affected by a very bad earthquake. The Italian branch of SCI organized this kind of WordCamp some months after the natural catastrophe. And this is something typical of the IVS approach. So just to recap, these are the elements of the IVS approach. horizontal and cooperative work based on grassroots principle and community-based principles. Then we prefer using non-formal or informal education as an educational tool. We are inclusive and accessible, so the work and the project are usually accessible to everybody. We don't make discrimination. We don't make a strong selection. The projects are process-oriented rather than result-oriented. And the aim is to provide support, sometimes even after a natural catastrophe or specific situation, but we don't organize specific intervention during the emergency. Okay, this was a short presentation. I think that I stopped sharing the screen. And now we would like to know also your comments and your feedback on this. And in order to allow you to share your feedback, we organized a Jamboard. Then I will now share the screen, and then we will share also the link. Now I will, can you confirm that you see the Jamboard page? Am I sharing this?
Not yet.
No, we cannot
Okay.
see it.
Now I think that now you can see it.
Now, yes.
Okay, great. So in the first page of the Jamboard, you can see the recap of the main features of the IVS approach. And what we ask you to do, we invite you to stick, oh, sorry, again. We invite you to stick the post-it here on the next pages. We set up 2 pages, which are blank. And here you can share your comment regarding the advantages of this IVS approach. And then page number 4 and 5, you can stick here the post-its with comments regarding the disadvantages of this IVS approach. As we said before, this approach has strengths and also weaknesses, and you can share your comment about this. So I will stop here. And now in the chat, I will share the link to this, and it is here. So please confirm that you can access the Jamboard and you can start working on this for, let's say, 5 minutes, and then we can see together the results. We are a bit late, so unfortunately we cannot give you more than 5 minutes because we have another interactive session, and it will be the last session. So you can start working on this, you can start sticking post-it. Okay. Now, sorry for concluding the session, but we have another session to do before finishing the meeting. I was just taking note of all your comments. There are a lot, which is very good. Maybe we will not have the time to read them all, but just for your information, we will convert these Jamboard pages into PDF, and we will share them with you, and we will upload them in the iLearn section, so you will have also the time to read them. Now I will share my screen, and I will read also my my notes. So thank you once again for filling this. As you can see, we have many comments. Regarding the strengths, I just took some notes and I jotted down some keywords. And some of these keywords, actually, they are in line with the presentation that we just did. So we can mention some keywords like supportive, inclusive, accessible. We have collaboration, community-driven, real needs, So yes, the grassroots and the IVS approach allows to work on the real needs. Critical thinking, empowerment, then we have positive relationships. It is an approach which is flexible and adaptable, interactive. It is an approach that gives freedom of expression. It reverses the order, so that means that the people on the bottom have the possibility to be on the top, so to really express their needs and to be at the center of the activity and to play an active role also for the development. And actually there are many more. Now we cannot go into detail, but this was in a nutshell a recap of what you wrote. And then regarding the limits, it is an approach that can be slow sometimes. In some specific areas of intervention, we do require specific competencies and professionality, and sometimes the IVS approach cannot offer these, so lack of professional intervention. Some limitations are regarding also visas, for example. People from disadvantaged areas might not be able to access the project. And the same goes also for people with poor economic background. So the access sometimes is not ensured to everybody. And then there are many more. Well, here there is something about the visas, the same. Its flexibility may lead to confusions about roles and responsibilities. This is another important factor, like a professional intervention again. Yeah. Okay, this was, so I can stop here sharing. So thank you for sharing these. As said, we can share all these comments in such a way that you can better read them. The task of this activity was, as we said before, to clarify our approach and to be more aware about the strengths and weaknesses. We are glad that actually there were much more comments regarding the strengths rather than the weaknesses, but it is important that we are aware about the limits and about the borders of this approach. And now, actually it's 5 minutes after 6, but we would like to make the very last activity, and it is an interactive activities of 10 minutes. So if you have still time, we would like to involve you in this interactive activity. And for this, we need to create some group. I think that we can create 4 groups, right, Elisabetta?
Yes, and we will use similar groups like for the previous group activity, if everyone is okay with this.
Okay. So I will share now with you the instruction. Actually, they are quite easy. These simple interactive activities, and we will give you some guidelines for discussion based on some questions. So now I will share the screen. Okay, so these questions, they refers to, of course, volunteering in conflict areas. To support people in conflict areas is usually challenging and requires hard work. Some people around the world go to the conflict areas and support different groups of people in many different ways. The work is sometimes on a voluntary basis. Now we would like to ask you some questions relating to volunteering in conflict areas, and I would like you to discuss your answers as a group. So what are the questions? Actually, these questions, they refer to 4 different areas. The first refers to motivation. So what do you think are the 3 main motivations to volunteer in a conflict area? You think about different contexts and potential scenarios. What would make someone to go there? So this is about specifically about motivation. Then the second one is about expectations. So imagine you are planning to volunteer in a conflict area, no matter if it is a real context or a potential scenario. What would be your expectation from yourself, the organization you work with, and the people you support? The third one is about the expected impact. So people engage in voluntary works to achieve diverse goals. We wonder how you would measure the impact you your organization are making to the program plan you participated in. Also consider the impact on yourself. What would you like to achieve and how would you know that you achieved it? You can think of a real conflict or a potential scenario. And finally, the last question is about preparation. So volunteering in conflict area usually requires mobility. So for every journey, we do make preparation. We wonder, what would you do to make yourself ready for this journey? Think about multiple aspects of volunteering in a conflict setting. Consider psychosocial, political, financial, cultural, biological, environmental, and interpersonal aspects. So we will share this file with you now, and then you will join your group and you will have 10 minutes to discuss these questions together with your group, and then we come back to plenary, just 1 minute presentation, and we can share the results. So I can stop now. So Julia,
Mauro,
yes.
Can I quickly add, maybe group 1 will take question 1, group 2 will take question 2, group 3 question 3, and group 4 question 4, just so that because of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we can do as Zainab suggests. So please now, Julia, can you please share the instructions in the chat so everybody can download, and then we can create the group. Okay, so as Zainab suggests, group number 1 can focus on question number 1, group number 2 on question 2, group number 3 on question 3, and group number 4 on question 4. And then we will meet here again in plenary in 10 minutes, and we will share results. So now we can create the group.
Yes, I just wanted to wait for a few seconds for people to download, but I suppose you downloaded. So, okay, I will open rooms now and see you in 10 minutes.
Can you add me a group as well?
Yasin, Mauro,
yeah.
you?
Yeah, this is Yasin, yeah.
Ah, okay, sorry, because I see that you're muted. Okay, on different. Yeah, just a second.
You know, both of me, yeah?
Both, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me just...
Thank you.
And Alexandra, you're also not assigned to the group, so I'll put you in group number 4.
And I will go to group number 1.
Okay, and then I can go to group number 2.
Did you set the
Yasin is in group number 2. So I'll go to group number. You said you'll go to 1, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go to group number 3.
See you. Thanks.
Okay, see you.
Okay.
We're back.
We're back now?
Well, yes, we're back in the plenary. We'll just wait for, yes, I think that everyone joined, so.
Unfortunately, also now the conversations were really lively, but we are 20 minutes late, so we need to wrap up and to give you freedom. Okay, so if everybody is here, maybe we can just make a short recap of some keywords of the highlights of the discussion, starting from group number 1, which I think it was my group. And unfortunately, we had to stop a very interesting conversation. So who would like just to recap shortly a few words about the motivation.
I think Miriona was saying something really interesting, and we came back to the main group.
Yeah.
So if you would like to say,
yeah. Maybe you can we can conclude the conversation, Miriona.
Thank you. So we have the first question that is related with the motivation, and we mentioned the solidarity to support people, local people, and also personal development. One question then Mauro make us, sorry if I pronounce incorrect, it's we have some young people or some volunteers that say, I would volunteer in this type of project or this type of activity because I want to start my career and this will help me to grow up. In this way, in my organization, we receive this type of application and we make direct interviews with them and see if they are relevant and can make a voluntary activity if they have the capacities, because sometimes they describe their skills and knowledge in a high level, and when they go in the area they don't bright or they don't give their best. So it's so important to see their real capacities, and if they really are so good, to create them the opportunity, even that they see as an opportunity to start their career. So this is what I want. Anyone else from my group that want to mention something, feel free to do it.
Okay, thank you, Miriona. If there are no more comments from our group, we can go to group number 2. If somebody wants to just make a recap, short recap of what you talked about. So group number 2.
Well, I was in.
Yes, please, Yazin, go ahead.
Sorry, I was in the second group. I was kind of moderating the discussion, basically, and I see that nobody is volunteering, so I just wanted to share a few points. Well, it was about the expectations. First of all, we said, the expectation from the organization that you're working with, kind of tell you the basic information about the conflict area, about the people you are going to support, what kind of risks or, kind of challenges, opportunities you may have in the field. Expectation from the person himself or herself is that, to be emotionally, psychologically resilient, because he or she is going to work with probably some vulnerable communities. So that's one point. And in terms of the expectations from the local people, it wasn't actually expectation from the local people, but again, turning, the projector to the person and the organization, saying that, we should understand what the local people needs, are, and then based on this, how we can support them. This was probably, if I missed any point, please jump in and add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Please.
I would like to add something that I didn't say, but another girl of my group said, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but about the language, that it's really important language, because maybe if you are in a context and you don't know how to speak with people, you can miss a lot of things about cultural stuff. I mean, you don't really understand people there, so maybe language should be really important in your experience in work field and in volunteering.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are no more comments on group number 2, we can go to group number 3 that was about expected impact. Who would like to talk on behalf of this group?
Okay, since I was facilitating discussion in this group and there's no one now to share the what we've said, I'll just make a few points. We were discussing about measuring impact on the local community, but also on ourselves. And I would say that we maybe focus more on how to impact, how to measure impact on ourselves. And Vincent shared an interesting point about tools that their organization developed in order to measure impact. And also Yarin, since she used to work in Kosovo, which is still conflict area, and she shared a really valuable experience of how they managed to bring peace to the communities, different communities from different parts of Kosovo, from the north, a part where the most population is Serbian, and from the south where most population are Albanians or Kosovo Albanians. So they, it was a specific project where they can measure impact just by observing the people who were like in the conflicts earlier, but after the project they were sitting and drinking coffee together. So our conclusion is that there are different tools for measuring impacts.
Very interesting. Thanks, Elisaveta. And then we can go to the last group, which was group number 4. And if I remember well, the topic was about preparation. Also here, who would like to share some keywords or to wrap up?
Okay, with a lot of thanks to Zeynep for help on these points. We emphasized that the preparation had to be made before you leave your home or your home country, and that preparation had to be to get as much as possible of the understanding of the situation and the lives of the people that you're going to be working among. If possible, you should find some people who come from those cultures or from those situations to tell you. But then you need other information like health information about the language, how are you going to communicate with the people where you are going. And above all, it's already been mentioned, impact on ourselves. In other words, how's it going to affect your emotions, especially if there are difficult and harrowing situations that you're going to have to listen to and hear about. So I think all those things is quite a good list in that question 4, each of which needs to be attended to, but it does need to be thorough, and it's best done through, you can read up things, you can even see a slideshow, but actually meeting real people and getting into conversation with them and trying to get understanding through an interpersonal relationship before you actually go there is the ideal.
Yes, sure, Paul. Thanks for sharing this and results from your group. Now it's almost 4:30. So first of all, we apologize for this delay, but we thought that it was better also to give the opportunity to interact more during this meeting. So we thank you again for your patience. And now just a short information. We mentioned about the aha moment. So we give just 1 minute if you have some aha moments that you experienced during this meeting. So the microphones are open for all those who experienced this sudden understanding. If you have it, just please share it with us. Otherwise, you can share it also next time. So last call for aha moment. I will wait 10 seconds and then we can officially finish by reminding you the next meeting. Do we have aha moments?
Yeah, I had to.
Yes, we have aha moments. Please, Anna.
Yeah, I had the moment about knowing our limits, our limitations as volunteers, what we can do and what we cannot do, and also not having expectations. because sometimes this brings to prejudice or how we see the world. So I think it's also very important for what you said all today, that like to take our glasses off and be aware of our limitations.
Okay, thank you for sharing this enlightenment, this aha moment.
I can just mention one thing, Mauro.
Please, Simone.
I think for me it was relevant this differentiation between top-down and grassroots, and I think it was good to clarify.
Okay, thanks for sharing. So we have 2 aha moments. Do we have a third one, and we can conclude?
I had one. When we were talking about the definition of conflict, it didn't need to be a direct conflict with weapons and this kind of stuff. It can be also like not direct. So for me, that was important.
Okay, it's interesting to collect all these aha
Yeah,
moments.
I thought the same thing.
Okay, Martin as well. Well, that's very interesting. And for sure you will have some aha moments also maybe tomorrow after a good sleep, maybe waking up tomorrow. So just you can use the template that we gave to you in order to keep track of the aha moments. And as I said, at the beginning of each session, at the end of this session, we can just review this journal together, okay? And so that's the end. Short preview about the next meeting. It will be 18 June, the same hour. We start at 2 Paris, Rome time. And it will be a meeting with Yazin and Zainab, more specific regarding the definition of conflicts, and we will explore other elements related to conflict. So it will be very interesting. It will be a little bit different from this, but still we expect interactions and possibility to share and to have wrap up, and so on. We might prepare some homework that we might send to you during the week. So just check your mailbox, check the island section of CCIVS. And that's all. If there are no other comments or announcements from Yazin and Zainab, otherwise we can conclude. And once again, we thank you for your active commitment in this meeting. And sorry for taking too much time. It lasted 2 hours and a half. But it was worthwhile. At least I can talk about my experience, and I think that I'm talking on behalf of the whole team. So again, thank you, and have a wonderful weekend, and see you next week.